the undisputed, undefeated flyweight champion of the world, Sweet Poison, Gabriela Fundora!
Make sure y'all stay on point with
The Puncher's Point. What is good, y'all? Welcome back to The Puncher's Point, the undisputed queen of the flyweights. She retains her title after defeating Marilyn Badillo by 7th round TKO. Now, here's what I will say. I thought this fight was going to go the distance. Obviously, I was wrong. So, first off, shout out to Gabriela Fundora for, again, putting on a great performance. And overall, what I saw from this performance was a complete fight from Gabriela Fundora. And I also saw a very lackluster fight from Marilyn Badillo. But overall, what I saw from these two, one was on her game and the other one wasn't. It was just as simple as that. So, first off, let's get straight into it. We're going to start off with the strategy grade. So, what I noticed about the strategy from Gabriela Fundora, she obviously used her reach to her advantage. The first thing was the jab. So, for me, she was constantly putting that jab in Marilyn Badillo's face. And the question was, could Marilyn Badillo get around that jab? Can she get on top of that jab? And the answer was no. She couldn't find a way to get around that jab. Now, Marilyn Badillo, when she walked into this fight, I feel like she relied a little bit too much on head movement and not enough on, offensive fighting. And the reason why I thought Badillo was going to go the distance was because she is a good defensive fighter. In this fight, that wasn't the case. We talked about her lackluster record, and I think that showed into effect. We talked about the one champion that she beat, and that was about it. And that was even a tough fight that she had to dig and claw to get the win for. But other than that, I feel like the lackluster competition, I don't think she was ready for somebody like Gabriela Fundora, who's as accomplished as she is. The other thing about Gabriela Fundora, one of the keys that I mentioned from her was basically to focus on counters, and boy did she ever. You see, Marilyn Badillo, she didn't push the pace a lot in this fight. But what I noticed was whenever Marilyn Badillo would try to set up stuff with the head movement and try to get to the inside, Gabriela Fundora took advantage of it, especially since Badillo had a low stance. When Badillo had a low stance and Gabriela Fundora was landing 4 or 5 punch combinations on her, and then on top of that, the left straight was just stopping everything. There wasn't a single thing Marilyn Badillo was going to do. Put it this way, Marilyn Badillo lost this fight the second the bell rang. And I'm going to be honest, I'll go a step further and say Marilyn Badillo, I don't even know if she thought she had a chance to win this fight because it was absolutely insane what Gabriela Fundora was able to do in this fight. She was basically able to not only push the pace, not only be the better counterpuncher, she had better footwork than Marilyn Badillo, which I thought Marilyn Badillo was going to use to her advantage, but she didn't. All the keys that Marilyn Badillo had, for me, she never used them. Okay, I didn't see any keys such as using straights to get to the inside. I didn't see any of that. I didn't see her moving around the ring as much as I have from last fights. And then last but not least, lay off the ropes. And here's the thing. Marilyn Badillo, like I said in the prediction episode, she's great on the ropes. That's her way. Like I called it the Matador style. That was her way of basically luring her opponents into situations where she could counter and she could take over the fight. But I said she should also stay off the ropes against Gabriela Fundora because Gabriela Fundora, not only does she have that long reach, but on top of that, Fundora is at a caliber of a fighter that all the other fighters that she fought are not at. So I wanted her to stay off those ropes. And what did she do? When the going got tough, she laid on those ropes and Gabriela Fundora hit her with three straight, three straight lefts. And let me tell you something. Once she was down, you could tell Marilyn Badillo did not want to continue that fight. Despite it being 7 rounds, if she had 3 rounds to go, she did not want to go those 3 rounds because I do think as the pressure kept going on, and like I mentioned, Gabriela Fundora had great stamina. She could also beat you for 10 rounds. I feel like once she realized that Fundora was not slowing down, it was just going to get worse and worse from there. But overall, what I will say, if I had to give this strategy grade a scale of 1 to 10 and remind you, this is for both fighters combined, I got to give it a 7. When one performs very, very well and the other one doesn't, I got to give it a 7 every single time. Which leads me to the excitement of this fight. To me, I'm going to be honest with you, this wasn't really an exciting fight. And there was no disrespect to Gabriela Fundora because Gabriela Fundora went in there and she did what she had to do. She dominated the fight. What makes it an exciting fight is both fighters engaging in making it a great fight for the fans to watch, making it a close fight to where the fans can, speculate opinions and they can actually look at the fight and realize, look, there's moments from this person, there's moments from this person. If we don't get that, then it's not an exciting fight. Marilyn Badillo, I didn't have her winning a single round. And then on top of that, Gabriela Fundora was just dominating, controlling the pace, all that type of stuff. There wasn't any moments where I'm looking, I'm like, Gabriela Fundora's in trouble. There were maybe once in this fight where Badillo would land a left hook around the jab, and that was about it. Other than that, Badillo was too cautious, and therefore it was a slow-paced fight for Badillo. And as much as Gabriela Fundora wanted to push the pace, there really wasn't moments where Badillo wanted to engage with her, which was another key for Badillo to win this fight. But with that being said, as far as excitement, I mean, they did get the knockout, so I'm gonna give it a 6.5. So with that being said, we move on to basically the stakes. What was that stake? Well, you got the undisputed flyweight championship on the line. You have two undefeated fighters, so that or overall puts it at some decent stakes. The problem was Golden Boy did not promote this fight the way they should have. There wasn't no hype around this fight. And we knew Gabriela Fundora was coming back. We knew about her historic undisputed performance in as becoming the youngest undisputed champion in women's boxing history, let alone boxing history. But basically, the problem I had was the other history event that she made was she was the first ever woman to headline a Golden Boy card. And that itself should have been hyped up to the moon. And the problem was it wasn't. Golden Boy did not hype this fight up too well. And I'm not going to lie to you. I blame Oscar De La Hoya, the promotional companies, the management, all of that. Gabriela Fundora, this is a star that we got on our hands. And I said it. Look, everybody said she is the female fighter of the year. I couldn't argue against it. The only reason why I never gave it to her is because nobody hyped her up the way she should have. She didn't, in a bit, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, and a big 50 million people watching that fight. Gabriela Fundora couldn't equal that because nobody's there to hype her up the way that she should. And so for me, when we're talking about stakes, yes, the title is important. The undefeated record is important. But other than that, the problem that we're having is she's not being promoted correctly. But overall, when you have undisputed on the line, that's obviously got to bring it to, some decent stakes. So I'm going to give it an 8. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. And then last but not least, the impact. Well, how does this impact the women's division? Well, here's the thing. We already know who the queen is at flyweight. You know that she can move up to junior bantamweight and she can basically go in there and try to become undisputed in 2 divisions, which I wouldn't be opposed to. However, for me, I feel like at this point in time, you got to start rising her up in the pound for pound list. And I think that deserves at least a 7 for the stakes. But when you're undisputed in a division and you realize that there's not competition in that division that can touch you, and in my opinion, for the next 2 divisions, I don't think there's a person in there that can touch her. I'm going to be honest. She has a chance to become a 3-time undisputed champion, if I'm going to say it right now. And I believe she could do that before the age of 30 if she stays active and if they promote her correctly. I truly believe that. But for me, the problem I'm having here is, as of right now, you are the undisputed queen of the flyweights. So it's all a matter of what are you going to do with that? Are you going to move up? Are you going to defend that belt against your interim or your mandatory challenger or the interim champion? And overall, to me, I don't know what's going to happen next. So I would say this, the impact, I got to keep it at a 7 right now because we just don't know what's going to happen in the long run. We just do not know what is going to happen, what Gabriela Fundora is going to do. We don't know. And so when you put that all together, the overall grade for this fight is going to be 7.13. Now, if I look at my notes real quick, when you compare that to the other fights that we have ranked, 7.13 is not high on this list at all. It's going to be right below João Boots Ennis versus Amanda Stanionis, and it's going to be right above Lauren Price and Bexy Mateus. So she didn't make the top 10. I'm going to say that right now. She did not make the top 10. But overall, that's okay because Gabriela Fundora went in there and she did what she had to do. So I can't hate on her. Me personally, I don't think it was an exciting fight, and it wasn't Gabriela Fundora's fault. It was Marilyn Badillo's for not going in there, not pushing the pace, not engaging, not trying to win this fight. I don't think she did a great job. I thought the strategy was lackluster. I thought that, there might have been chances where she had moments and she didn't capitalize on them. I just felt like Marilyn Badillo went into that fight, and the second the bell rang, I just feel like she didn't have a chance of winning. So with that being said, what is next for the undisputed flyweight champion Fundora? Well, for me, for her, I would like to see her stay at undisputed. I would like to see her stay at the flyweight division for now because the interim champion for the WBA flyweight are Maria Magdalena and Magdalena Rivera. That's who I think she should fight next. Go in there and beat the interim champion. The next thing you know, wait to see how the junior bantamweights, the 115-pound division, plays out. Because as of right now, if we're looking at that division, you got Mizuki Haruta, who I think is going to be the toughest challenge for her. You got Irma Garcia. You got Clara Lesuret. Excuse me if I pronounce that wrong. Lescuret. And then you got Ashley Gonzalez, who lost to Marilyn Badillo. So, with that being said, for me, what I think should happen next, just fight the interim champion at WBA. You beat her, and then just wait for this junior bantamweight division to play out. But if somehow you can't make the fights for those junior weight, if somehow you cannot make the fights for the junior bantamweight division, then I would just say continue to stay active until something pops up. This is the only time where I approve of a fighter not taking big fights after big fights after big fights is when other people aren't getting the job done. Now, hey, look, if Gabriela Fundora ends up beating her mandatory or the interim champion and she moves up, I'm perfectly fine with that too if she wants to capture another title in the junior bantamweight division. But for me, I feel like as of right now, it's because there's four champions. It's gonna take some time for that junior bantamweight division to kind of build up and heat up. And I want to see Gabriela Fundora in the mix when it starts heating up because that is when the promotion is gonna get big. That is when Gabriela Fundora is gonna get her shine. And honestly, if they want to make this fight on that MVP promotional card, if they want to make this fight on that card and give Gabriela Fundora more eyes, I'm perfectly fine with that too. But for me, I think that I think that her next opponent should be Maria Magdalena Rivera. In my opinion, that would be my prediction. I would like to see that fight next. And then she goes in there. If she beats Rivera, then go straight up to junior bantamweight and see what's up. But other than that, Gabriela Fundora, I mean, obviously she's taken the women's boxing world by storm. She's now 16-0 with 8 knockouts, and she's a problem for women's boxing. She really is, you know. And honestly, from junior bantamweight all the way up to all the way up to 126, I believe it's hers for the taking. I believe that from the division that she's at now, she continues to build up and move up in weight, go from 112 to 122. I believe that's hers for the taking until she gets to 126. And then obviously you got Amanda Serrano in there. You got Tiara Brown, Nina Mink. Jennifer Miranda is an interim champion, so that's going to be a little more challenging. But from 112 to 122, Gabriela Fedora's got this, in my opinion. She's got that in the bag. As long as she stays active, as long as she continues to train, as long as, you know, she keeps her head straight. And on top of that, as long as she's able to promote herself and kind of build some hype around herself, I believe that, you know, the sky's the limit for Gabriela Fundora. But overall, congratulations to her. As far as Marilyn Badillo, look, she had a bad fight. I don't want everybody to think that I'm just trashing on Badillo because I do respect every fighter that gets into that ring. I just hope that Marilyn Badillo, next time she steps into the ring, she has a better game plan, a better strategy. You know, she kind of goes in there and starts engaging a lot more, you know, bringing the fight to her opponent. And I'm hoping that after this Gabriela Fundora fight, I hope it's a lesson to her to kind of improve on some skills, kind of craft some skills. And I hope that we can see her in some bigger fights because, like I said, the resume ain't it. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not it. And I just want to see more from her. But with that being said, it's time we log off. Make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Points. Again, we're going to keep having prediction episodes, special guests on this. We're going to try to aim for more interviews. We got social media content. Magazine's about to come out pretty soon. Make sure y'all continue to tune into the Puncher's Point. And last but not least, we ain't going nowhere. So make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.